And I'm Nick, and we're coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona, the desert, where it has been absolutely beautiful for the last couple of days. Unlike last week when I got my car back, it had been raining the entire week, so I had a little bit of a delay in terms of getting this video out, but it's finally time. Finally ready to share my story and my overall experience with putting on an aftermarket hood on my car. And it turned out to be a bit of a journey. So before I get into the journey, I just wanted to spell out the premise of this week's video, which is to provide my experience about putting on this hood and some other aftermarket body panels on my car, and just to give some education on what you can anticipate. And hopefully I might bring up some things that you hadn't considered. That, you know, at a minimum make you more informed than you were prior to watching this video, and, you know, possibly in a worst case you might be going, you know what, this is really a little bit more than I bargained for, and I'm not sure I'm interested in putting in aftermarket panels. So you know, with that in mind, I'll give a little bit of background on the type of, you know, owner that I am. And you know, I am someone that takes great pride in my car. However, you know, I totally accept that my car is, you know, about 20 years old, and it's not perfect, and I absolutely want it to look good and everything else. But I think you'll see in most of the videos I publish, probably the last thing I seem to spend time doing is actually washing my car. Just because there always seems to be a mod to do, and I would rather be wrenching on my car than waxing it. So that's probably not in the majority for a lot of Corvette owners, but that's the type of owner that I am. And you know, I think that just kind of illustrates you know, my disposition towards modding, and that you know, when I purchase mods, I live by the rule of thumb that new stands for needs extra work. And if you live by that mantra when you're modding cars, you normally won't be blindsided. And I wouldn't say that purchasing this hood was a blindside. It was something that I wasn't educated on. So without further ado, let's get to it. So my story is that I had been doing a lot of research on hoods, and I had been considering picking up an Anderson hood, which is a fiberglass hood wrapped in carbon fiber. Or the other option I was looking at, which was more money, was the ACP hood. And I originally had been planning on going with the Anderson hood. I thought it was really good value, but I couldn't find a lot of feedback on people that had actually purchased and bought it. So a few people on the forum have bought it and provided some feedback, and there's only a handful of people I could find that had purchased it, but a couple of them have actually cracked their hoods just from closing it. And they claim that it happened just from pushing the hood closed around the latches. And you know, I'm the type of owner that is popping my hood open probably every other time I drive the car, whether it be to put the battery tender on, or to get prepped to work on the car, inspect it, or whatever. So I'm very hard on my hood because I open and close it so much. And I'm not taking any digs at Anderson. I'm just, you know, providing feedback that's commonly available on the forum. And based on my use case, it didn't seem like it was the greatest option for me. So the next best option was the ACP hood. And the very best option is actually the MCM hood, based on the feedback that I've seen on the forum. However, that company is long gone. It's been close to out of the game for almost 10 years, and there's not very many people selling those hoods. And if you can find one for less than $5,000, you are extremely lucky. So I wasn't able to find one, gave up the search, ended up talking to some people and got some really good feedback on the ACP hood. ACP is a company that's based out of Pennsylvania, and they make hoods that are race oriented. So I live in Phoenix, and I'm very interested in getting a vented hood. Anything that could help me with heat extraction is very well received. And in addition to that, if it also helps keep the car planted, that's also an added bonus, at high speeds. I purchased the hood from ACP, and it took 3.5 weeks for it to ship out. And I had it shipped out directly to my body shop to save a little bit of cost on shipping. I ordered the fiberglass model with carbon fiber center section. I wasn't ultra concerned about having ultimate weight savings, and my rationale for also going with the fiberglass is that it would be easier to work with, and if there were any flaws in it, it would be easier to fix. Versus carbon fiber, you're kind of in a box. You can only take the clear down to the carbon, and you're getting limited on what your options are for fixing it. So the hood ultimately shipped to my body shop the week that I happened to be out of town, and I was in the middle of a meeting, and I got a voicemail from the body shop saying, "Nick, we need you to give us a call because we are not going to get started on prepping this hood until we're able to speak to you." So I gave him a call back, and I said, "What's going on, guys?" I was kind of freaking out. Because I've read of certain companies that have sent out aftermarket body parts, and they are in really bad shape, and then in certain cases companies are willing to stand behind their product, and in certain cases they're not, and it gets ugly. So this was a situation where my body shop said that the hood that they received was in really rough shape, and that I should reach out to the company that manufactured it to see if they're, what their disposition is towards standing behind their product. And that I would also need to come down there as soon as I got back to come check it out and see for myself what some of the issues were. And they were trying to describe some of the issues to me, and this is where I really just felt like a complete noob, a complete idiot about body panels and fiberglass and that type of thing. It's something I haven't spent a lot of time researching, getting educated on. So some of the things that my body shop was describing, I couldn't have an appreciation for what it really meant until going down there and then seeing it. So my first reaction was to call ACP up and just say, "Hey guys, this hood was delivered to the body shop, and they gave poor feedback on it, and I wanted to find out, if I have an issue with it, what's going to be, your approach toward working with me here on getting me, the product that I was hoping to get." And they gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling pretty much right out of the gate. There was never any hesitation from them. They're going, "This is very unusual. If we have sent out a hood that is in as rough a shape as your body shop was describing, but we'd like to see pictures and video before we speak toward it more." So I said, "Okay, I'm going to go down there on Monday, and I'll take pictures, video, and then we'll talk." So I got down to the body shop on Monday morning, and I took a video of the hood in addition to many pictures, and then reached out to ACP. And before I describe some of the issues, let me show you how that first hood looked. So as you can see, that hood that was initially sent to my body shop definitely needed a little bit of work, to say the least. It really wasn't a salvageable hood. The clear coat that was over the center section of the carbon fiber was like cottage cheese in texture, and it would have had to been sanded down all the way to the carbon fiber. There was, at that point you'd be risking damaging the carbon fiber. The clear coat on that section was actually flaking off if you rubbed that seam with your thumb. There were just flakes of clear coat coming off. And then on the corner of the hood, one of the corners was snapped off, and then there were some spider web cracks on the hinge mounting points. And I guess the thing that's kind of wild is that if you read on the forum about some people that have picked up carbon fiber fenders or fiberglass body panels, they'll receive parts like this and they'll follow up with the business that sent it to them, and those businesses will often say pound sand, anticipate paying double or triple in body work to be able to put this on, and it's just, to me, that's ridiculous, and I feel that's unacceptable. So I'm really glad that I went with ACP and I purchased a hood from them, because they're a company that 100% stood behind their product. And when I talked to the owner, Kerry, and he had a chance to review the pictures in the video, he was going, we're going to have FedEx come and pick up that hood today and get it back to us so we can review it. And we want to do root cause analysis on it, and then and follow up with you on what options we're going to provide on trying to make this right. So the hood ended up getting sent back to them. They received it. Kerry called me up and apologized profusely. He had not quality inspected that hood prior to it going out, and he was going, that hood absolutely should not have gone out the door. And he was so sorry that it did. He was going, he found out what went wrong, and the process that they have for making the hoods was not followed. So he said, I'm going to be building you a brand new hood. I'm going to make sure that it's in excellent condition. And on top of that, I'm also going to make sure that that we've gone over the top on prepping it, so that, ideally your body shop should be receiving that hood and it should be near ready to paint when they get it. And lo and behold, they sent out a replacement hood, got to the body shop. They said this hood is, night and day difference in quality. And they said, yeah, it's almost ready to paint. It needed very little work. It actually saved me about $300, from the body shop based on their original quote on what it was going to take to prep and paint it. So I'm ultra happy with ACP, and I'm just really happy that they stood behind their product. Have ultra respect for the way Kerry treated me, and ACP treated me throughout this process. And I would highly recommend them to anyone that asks. And it's like, the one thing you got to remember, guys, when you're buying these aftermarket car parts, a lot of these companies that sell these parts, it's a lot of the times it's like a company of one people here. And, as much as they would love to stand behind their product, they may not, just financially, it might not be an option. The return on investment for them to do that is just not there. If your margins are paper thin here and you have to eat the whole cost of something, or, you have to go in the red on a transaction, it absolutely hurts. So that's where I go. ACP, they cover the cost of shipping of the old hood back to them and the new hood back to my body shop. They invested some labor on putting extra prep work into the hood. Kerry followed up with me after the hood was done. That's where I really can't give them enough praise about how I was treated. So really tip my hat to ACP. So in addition to the new hood looking great, it has actually decreased my engine oil temp by 6 to 9 degrees. And it's actually taking longer to reach operating temperature because it's cooling the car so well. So as a functional mod for cooling the car, it's definitely making an impact. So now, without further ado, let me turn it over to how the new hood looks. So just a couple more mentions to the story is that one thing you should be aware of if you're buying a cowl hood or pretty much any aftermarket hood is you need to be aware that your windshield wipers there's a very good chance that they may hit your hood. And mine were no different. So in terms of options of what you can do if your windshield wiper makes contact with your hood, you can try and get the angle of the dangle here. So as far as the latches go, you can unbolt these latches and you can have a little bit of play in raising it or lowering it. So the shop that put my hood on did have to raise the latches just enough, and they also had to shim the windshield wipers. And they had to grind down a hair off the back of the hood. So because of that, you'll notice in my video I kind of keyed in there's a little bit of a gap right at this area here. The other thing is that when I initially got my hood back, I had a little bit of a gap on the passenger side and a little bit on the driver's side between the hood and the fender. And this was a situation where the body shop that I had work on my hood, they had not ever worked on radio flyer headlights. And they were saying, it looks like we need to install a couple of shims on the fenders. And all a shim is you got these bolts here that hold your fender, and you can raise this fender lip just a little bit by putting in a washer, between the body panel and the U-nut that it screws into. So, my body shop would have been willing to do that, but they didn't feel comfortable taking out my radio flyer headlights, and I appreciate that because they're custom and they do take a little bit of finesse to take apart. So shimmed them, and now, as you can see, one side down, but it's pretty much flush until you get right to this edge here. And you can see it's, again, about flush, so you get right to the edge. So this experience has been really educational for me, and after going through it, I feel that I'm just a lot more prepared. And I think the other thing that I'm also a lot more aware of is when I hear people posting that, you know, they want to be able to buy an aftermarket body panel and they want to fit just like stock and it should show up, you know, stock quality and that type of thing. It does not exist. And you can make anything fit, and you can probably make anything look perfect for, you know, thousands of dollars in prep if you want, but it's not realistic. And I don't think people go out and buying, you know, $1,000 hood or $1,000 fenders with the intent of having to spend, you know, $2,000 prepping the hood, or, you know, $2,000 in the fenders or whatever to make it look respectable. And then at the end of the day, when you're having to do that much prep, you got to be questioning, you know, how's the longevity of this going to hold up? Or is there a whole bunch of bubbles, you know, that was in the mold and they're going to surface over the next year or two? I don't know. The other thing that was educational too is I'm running C7 carbon parts, and I had been advertising that my C7 carbon parts were, you know, virtually flawless. And they are such a great value. I love C7 Carbon. I am completely happy with their parts. I would buy more of their parts. If they come out the rear diffuser, I'm all over it. But I'm going to point out that for those people that are saying, I want something that is absolutely perfect, and I've been saying, yeah, my spoiler and other stuff is perfect. My spoiler is actually not perfect. And again, this is not to bash C7 Carbon at all. This is just to be educational and informative on, you know, just this is a situation where this is not an OEM piece. And the thing that I'll say that you'd have to see, but there's waves in the fiberglass going across the spoiler. So again, as just a way of giving some education on, you know, when you buy aftermarket, don't expect OEM quality. You know, one big thing you'll hear when you hear people talk about fiberglass that know what they're doing is they'll say, if you buy aftermarket fiberglass, there are normally waves in it. And there might be several, there might be one big wave or whatever. And that spoiler that I picked up, there are waves in it. And I don't care. I think it looks awesome regardless. And I'm the only one that's ever noticed that. I didn't notice until I got educated. But now that I'm aware, it's really brought light to me that when you pick up aftermarket body panels, you should not be setting that expectation of getting OEM quality. And if you do, you really should be, you know, if that's your standard, I don't know that you're ever going to be happy going with aftermarket. And I'm going to say that my ACP hood, ultimately, I feel that it's about as good as you're going to get for an aftermarket hood. I feel the fitment is really good. It's obviously not 100% perfect, but to be fair, my OEM hood was not 100% perfect. It had a gap on the passenger side. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Ultimately, I'm ultra stoked about this hood. I absolutely love it. It has really been garnering a lot of attention everywhere I go. Putting on an aftermarket hood on this car has been a dream since I got it. And, you know, when I picked this car up, it didn't have any body modifications on it other than a set of wheels on it and a Caravaggio spoiler. So it's come a long ways, and I'm really happy with where it's going. I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about it. So please chime in with some comments down below. If you have any questions, feedback, whatever, definitely let me know. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and also wouldn't mind getting a thumbs up as well to the video. So that's going to do it. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.